So today we're going to cover the fourth part of the Chris Chan and Casey's father phone call, and this is really where it gets poppin'. Like, this is the best part of the entire phone call. Now, if you want to see the whole thing without my reaction, it's in the description below, as well as the first three parts of my series here where I've reacted to it. Now, just to catch you up, we're at the part here where Casey's dad is just talking about how fucking ridiculous it would be for Chris to want to date his daughter in the situation he's in. So let's get into it and see what Matthew was saying about Chris.
This is ridiculous. I mean, you want to date my daughter. I mean, you realize she's leagues above you right now. I mean, she's out of your reach.
I have suffered through my own trials and tribulations that would be warlike. I have suffered through a whole bunch of enduring physical pains as well. You just could not imagine.
As I said in the beginning, Casey's dad is just sitting here, kind of sitting on how ridiculous it is that someone who just talked about nothing but toys and bullshit for like 20 minutes wants to date his daughter. Now, you gotta remember, this is a troll playing the part of Casey's dad. This is real to Chris, though. And to Chris, he sums this up by saying you couldn't imagine the physical pains that Chris has endured throughout his life. And he's saying that to a guy who, to Chris's knowledge, is a war veteran who's lost family, who's lost friends in the service. So Chris saying this is just, it's fucking rich.
It's like pain. God,
I have worked myself to the bone a lot, and I have felt heartaches, and I have
you don't know what
felt like I couldn't move on. But then I still move on.
In the fucking chest. I mean, I'm lucky to be alive. I mean, my comrade, one of my good buddies, he wasn't so lucky. He died right next to me. I carried him back, or
that was very heroic, and I commend you for that, good sir.
So as you can see, Chris is immediately thrown off by the realization that someone has it harder than him, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I commend you on that one. The thing is, though, as much as Chris has brought everything he has had on himself, he probably has endured a lot of physical pains just because of all the bullshit he's went through, but still, the fact that he's trying to justify that and comparing it to this guy's shit is like I said, it's wild.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure. You don't need to commend me. You're just kissing ass.
No, I am not kissing ass.
Okay. Well then. All right. I go. Okay. So really. Okay. What? Okay. So I have one more question. What do you have to offer my daughter? Really? After I've heard all this, what exactly do you have to offer a future med student? I mean, she had a good fiance, and now you think you can take her?
Yes, I could, because I can offer her a whole bunch of support that Chris could not.
Really? Really?
I
had job lined up.
I am honest, I am loyal, I am strong.
Chris does this a lot when talking about real world shit. When people ask him about his future plans and, what type of foundation can you, provide my daughter, his whole thing isn't, I'll plan to go back to school and maybe, try to get a good job, buy a house and all this. No, it's, he can offer some support. He's honest, he's strong, and that should be enough. That's enough to get them by. And because of the way Chris is, his idea of love is, I think, the idea that kids have of love, in that you don't need anything but love to survive. You can be homeless out on the street corner, and I think that point's brought up in this phone call at some point, but still, I think that's what Chris is trying to, he's trying to get that across to Matthew here.
Yeah, this guy spoke several languages. He had connections in the comic book industry. This guy could get a job right out of college, and you're mooching off the government, off of my tax money, and you want to date my daughter. I mean, these two had so much in common, Casey and Chris. I mean, she loved Looked everything about him, you know, and you just sit around, play with toys and what, video games? Is that what you buy with your welfare money? Like Pokemon shit?
I have not played with Pokemon for years, sir.
Okay, so what do you play with?
Shit, I thought Matthew was talking to me there for a second. Miss Smokey just bought me a Snorlax lamp the other day. Spending too much of my money on Pokemon shit. But really though, Matthew was just going into Chris here, asking what he spent his welfare money on, and you know, it's brutal. It's a brutal takedown of Chris here, and you know, it's a shame because I did go over. You know, we all know the way that Chris is, but this was like a life lesson, kind of like a real fatherly talk that Bob should have had with Chris, but neglected to ever have with him. And you know, Chris could have learned a lot here. Now, to be fair, Matthew, or the guy playing Matthew, is, I mean, he's really just berating Chris with a lot of this, but there is a lot of fair points here, and Chris could have learned a lot from this. But as we saw in the years that went by, Chris took nothing from this and just kind of, you know, saw it as another troll trying to get him. But it's funny to think that after everything that Casey's dad just said right there, Chris's only reaction was that he hasn't played Pokemon for years, which even at this time, I'm pretty sure is bullshit, because he was still writing Sonichu, and I'm pretty sure that counts as playing with Pokemon shit.
I mean, you denied Pokemon, but you didn't deny video games.
Okay, yeah, I have played some Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
The hell is that?
I have to stand up to play. I have to stand up and play guitar.
You have to stand up to play guitar. Oh, wow. That's. Why don't you? That's just pathetic. I mean, that's not. Do you think that's exercise? Could you play a real guitar? I think that real Chris could play a real guitar.
There's so much to unpack with that particular little snippet, because first you got Chris trying to brag that, you know, he's got to stand up to play some guitar, and Matthew is just, he is wowed by this, because it's quite a revelation, you know. It shows that Chris is really into burning some calories. And then at the end there, something that I don't really notice a lot of people bring up, but I love, is that the guy playing Casey's dad breaks into, you know, the troll talk of the time by calling Casey's ex-boyfriend the other Chris. Didn't that real Chris know how to play a real guitar? And if you didn't know, Casey's ex-boyfriend was Liquid Chris. So, you know, that's the real Chris to Casey's dad.
I worked hard for my father in his garden. I pulled weeds. Those weeds are very hard to pull.
My grandma pulled weeds.
Here we got Chris trying to prove how hard of a worker he is to Casey's father by telling him that he pulled weeds in his father's garden. And, you know, it's, like I said, to Chris, this was really something to brag about, because I think that, you know, to him, that particular day when he pulled weeds is just something that will stick in his mind for years as, like, fuck, don't want to do that again. That shit was way too hard.
Grandma had arthritis, and she pulled weeds every day.
Well, I'm sorry to hear your grandma had arthritis. But I am very strong, sir. And I'll tell you, it was very hard and torturing work to I was working under the hot sun. Those were very hot days.
Alright, look, I understand that it gets pretty hot in Virginia, but go mow a lawn in Phoenix and then tell me how you feel, Chris. But really here, again, Chris is just trying to, like, say how torturous it was to pull those weeds that day. And that's what I'm telling y'all. To Chris, that was really, like, something to like, put on his resume.
And you still look like a, I don't know. You look pretty fat to me. I mean, Casey exercises, and she lost weight. She looks, you know, she looks wonderful. And you?
Chris is probably trying his damnedest not to scream into the phone, holding in all that pent-up anger after being called fat. And then, you know, if Chris was really in the right mind and knew, like, because to Chris, this is real, remember. And, but if this was actually real, Chris could have just been like, you know, dude, why are you calling your daughter hot? But knowing what we know now, he may have been into that shit, so I don't know.
I mean, And do you even know what is the hot sun? I mean, I've been in the Middle East. I mean, you don't know hot until you've been out in the fucking shit.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yes, I will agree with you that I cannot truly understand heat until I'm in the middle of a desert. But still, those were very hot days. And I pulled those weeds.
Again, Chris is just damn proud of his weed work, but Matthew again points out that Chris doesn't know what it feels like to be out in the fucking shit, which is very true. Chris knows nothing of the shits. And like Chris even says, I know his brain works slow, but it's amazing that even at the time, like you couldn't have think of anything else to kind of brag about other than these weeds, because this is the third time in a row now.
And
I know what
I even placed lumber around the edges of that garden, and I hammered labels of those flowers that my father hand wrote accurately and he showed me where to place them, and I even helped him a little bit with placing them. And I hammered those labels hard into those pieces of lumber.
That just sounds like basic chores. I mean, that's lumber, pulling weeds.
Casey's dad with a fairly obvious but good point that Chris is basically just bragging about doing chores now, and there's no better way to put it. He really is. After Casey's dad talked about how he was in the service and he got shot in the chest, Chris has to talk about how, this is the torturous stuff that he's endured. And, it's just fucking chores.
On a good day, I had to do 200 push-ups. And I saw those push-ups you saw. I saw those push-ups you did, or whatever you call them. Push-ups? I mean, that's not push-ups. I mean, that was, I don't know, you looked like you were flopping around like a fish. You actually kind of looked like you were humping the floor or something.
I even mowed the lawn, and
lawn.
Yeah, and wow. Again, those were very hot days too. And sometimes the lawnmower would quit on me, and I had to practically kickstart it with my foot. I had to kick it and start it up again.
Yeah, you know what? Chris has a good point on this one. Anyone who's ever mowed a lawn in their life knows how annoying it is when that lawnmower stops and you have to keep fucking pulling it. But no, really, again, it's just so ridiculous, and this is something Chris is talking about to someone who he truly thinks is the father of the girl he wants to be with. He's like saying, it was so hot that day when I had to mow that lawn. And I think in Chris's mind, he's just expecting the dad to be like, fuck, man, like, you've had it hard. Get over here, get up to my daughter's room. It's just hurry up, Chris.
I see 7-year-olds who mow lawns, all day for a summer job, all day, all summer. They handle it just fine. Why can't, and they get paid for it, might I add.
Yeah, well, I was not paid for mowing the lawn. And also, you know what? Another heavy-duty burden I had to take care of, and that I wasn't paid for. When my dog died a few years ago, she was a sweet dog. I lifted and carried her doghouse to the site where we buried her. Her doghouse. That thing had to weigh like 5-10 tons. It was very heavy. I carried that thing.
This is a big thing that Chris constantly messes up on due to his autism, and that's that he'll grossly over-exaggerate things. And you can see that here by saying that the doghouse weighed 5 to 10 tons. He's done this to a lesser extent in Calls with Casey, where he's claimed that cans of, I think 12-pack cans of soda weighed like 50 pounds each. So, to Chris, I don't know where he comes up with these numbers, but it's probably, he's probably just winging it and seeing what sticks, and it's completely off.
You're talking to me about how your dog died. You're talking about someone who has lost friends and family in national tragedies. My mother, I had I had to deal with the loss of my mother, not to old age, but to fucking a plane by fucking piloted by terrorists. My mother was killed by terrorists.
Yeah.
I gotta say, the dude playing Casey's dad has a very dedicated and detailed backstory to whatever character he has here, and it's pretty heavy. I don't think Chris can comprehend what Matthew's talking about, but yeah.
Well, my
And
yeah, well,
but you know, your heavy burden is your dog died. But I'm sorry, but you know, boo. I mean, really, it's I've had dogs die. I mean, it sucks, but that's nothing.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's nothing.
I was very sad when she died. And you know what? It was not a matter of age. It was pretty much, yeah, she was very sickly, and there was nothing we could do. So I signed that form to give him permission to put her to sleep. I let her go. That was an emotional burden on me.
So yes, you heard that right. After Casey's father talks about how his mother died due to terrorists, Chris says that, you know, his dog dying was an emotional burden on him. Now remember, Matthew's story, Casey's father's story, is fake, but Chris thinks this is 100% real.
And I have been. My Aunt Karina died just last January because of heart cancer.
So are you?
Maddie, that's very saddening. I was
I'm
very
sorry.
close.
Are you messing with me? Are you trying to compare, you know, the loss of my mother, the loss of someone who took care of me for years, to a dog? You calling my mother a dog?
I am not calling your mother a dog.
I had to dig my mother out of the rubble of the Twin Towers. I mean, and you had to lift a doghouse.
Dear God, like I said, he gets Casey's father, the dude playing him, gets too into this shit. Like, I had to dig my mother out of the rubble of the Twin Towers. Like, fuck's sake. And I guess that all ties into the 9/11, around that time. I think we talked about this in part 3. Chris had made a 9/11 parody video to try to like troll Clyde Cash, and it did not go over well. And I think that's why this is like a factor in the story. But nonetheless, you know, once again, Chris, this is just fucking ridiculous. And, you know, it just keeps going this way. Now, I think we're going to end it here. But wait a minute. I think Chris has something to say about this whole digging the mother out of the Twin Towers and Chris lifting a doghouse. What do you got to say, Chris?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, that doghouse was heavier than any tombstone.
Dear God, could you have chosen any worse, like, series of words? You know, I have to keep beating this into the ground, and I'm sorry, but to Chris, this is real. Could you imagine saying this to, like, someone's father? Like, yeah, I know you had to, like, do all that to, like, dig your mother out, but my doghouse weighed more than any fucking tombstone. Like, just, it's a very witty line, I'll give Chris that, but just, fuck, to pull that out right now, it's the worst timing to pull out something like that, Chris.
And that doghouse pretty much was the tombstone.
Sounds like you're fucking with me now.
I am not. I am being very honest with you, sir. I'm telling you the honest truth from my sound mind and my sound heart.
I'm starting to really kind of doubt this whole honesty thing you keep talking about. I mean, how do you think Casey would feel if, you know, if I told about this? You know, what do you think how do you think she would feel about, you know, you comparing this whole lifting a 50 pound doghouse to, you know, maybe 100, 200 pound, you know, tombstone? And that doghouse is probably made of wood. This was solid rock.
No. I mean, I'll tell you, yeah, it was wood and plastic. That thing had to weigh over 100 pounds.
Plastic's pretty light, you know. I mean, I'm sorry. This This isn't even close to the same.
So, at first you think Chris said the doghouse and tombstone thing to be a smartass, but then he tries to justify it by saying, no, that doghouse was pretty heavy. It was made out of wood and plastic. And just it's one of those things where we talked about it. Chris can't really grasp these things, but just the fact that he looks at a doghouse, looks at a tombstone, probably thinks, well, the one's kind of bigger than the other, depending on how, what doghouse it is. Chris probably saw it and just thought, wow, that shit probably weighs a fuck ton. But like Chris said in the beginning of that, he's serious about this. And even though Casey's dad said it sounds like you're fucking with him, Chris, he reiterates, I am not. I am being very serious. And it's just, just fucking wow.
And that's just that. I mean, if you had told this to Casey, she would probably be, she would be so angry. I mean, you're just totally grasping at straws at this point.
Yeah, well, also, I've been through a whole bunch of this, also, to go off topic a bit, or going back to an whole topic, that I have been deceived by the trolls. A bunch of them pretended to be women who I thought were honest over the internet when I was talking to them for the first time for a while.
Who gives a shit about the internet?
And some of them were actually
be a
true
man.
honest women. And those two women died. I was very heartbroken by that. And yet I was even more heartbroken when I
don't
found out
even know these people.
I may not admit. Okay, well, yeah.
Wait. Did you say they were fake women? Did you say that these women were fake? So wait, these women were probably fake. Fake women died.
I didn't. No, I'm talking about two of them. A few of them were real women.
And how many of these women have you gone through?
I have not been able to go to them. But there was just one time where I actually thought it was a woman. I actually drove a whole day's worth back and forth, almost 24 hours, from my house to Cleveland, Ohio. Well, it turns out that was a bad lead. I drove from 5 in the morning to 12 o'clock to about just after midnight. To find the destination was a bad one, and that was an imposterous troll.
So in classic Chris fashion, when being backed into a corner, he immediately screamed about the trolls, and it's just amazing to see that when he's pressed on something, instead of just speaking rationally, he went on a 2-minute tangent, giving Casey's father an entire backstory of his entire troll history about how he had so many fake women and fake ex-girlfriends and shit. Why the fuck would you, don't make sense of the shit Chris does. There's no reason to try to make sense of it, but it's just fucking wild to see him sit there and talk about his trip up to Cleveland and how that was all for a fake woman. What did he expect Casey's dad to say to this? To go, man, you've been through a lot, Chris. I really admire your perseverance and how you've gotten through all this. It's just, these are probably the thoughts running through Chris's head when he's saying all this shit. But when a normal person hears this, you're just dear God, it's terrible.
So you went to go to Ohio for a fake woman, but my Casey just told me that you won't go and visit her, a real woman. I mean, I'm looking at Casey right now. And you wouldn't go to D.C. That's 2 hours away. And you've met her before, for God's sake.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was more naive back then, but I am very less naive now. I have been very less naive for about a year now.
I am not convinced.
Oh, come on! You should
come
be
on! You know who you're talking to, son? What the fuck is this?
The way that Chris just says, "Oh, come on," is so fucking perfect because you know he was so fed up of being called out and finally thought they were seeing eye to eye and just thought claiming these things that I'm not naive no more. I'm very respectful. I'm very honest. That's enough to just get this guy off your back. And Chris is fed the fuck up, and Chris is still naive to this day. He's in jail or wherever the fuck he's at right now. We all know Chris is, he never stopped being that naive, but, just fucking well. I love how he freaks the fuck out at Matthew, and it's only gonna get worse from here.
I mean, you're just talking back to me like a little kid. Don't yell at me, you maggot. Piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, you're obviously talking to me like as if I was a child. And I am not a child.
Because you are a child. You're acting like a child.
I am not a child. I am a man. I am a strong man. I have been through a whole bunch of emotional and physical traumas in my life.
You haven't proven a thing to me. You've shown me nothing that could even possibly suggest that you are a man.
Well, sometimes my memory fails me.
You're just sitting around in your parents' house, crying about your little dog, playing video games, whining about women on the internet. Some lazy little maggot.
I am not lazy.
You're living with your parents and you don't have a job. How is that not lazy?
So after telling Casey's father how torturous it was to do simple chores, being called lazy is just the final fucking straw to Chris, and he is snapping. It's just one of those things where Chris has no answer to why he's not lazy, but he's just fucking mad that he's being called it anyway. It's just one of those things that Chris hates, being called fat, being called lazy, being called naive.
Well, maybe I don't have a job, but I do work around the house. I lift a whole bunch of...
I do those every day, and I'm retired.
And they're not just chores. They're not just chores.
Yes, they are. Everyone works around the house.
Maybe everyone works around the house, but they don't. But they differ from burden to heavy weights. I
I see, and I was looking around that YouTube. I saw a video of your house. It's a fucking mess. You call that working around the house? I mean, are you trying to be you're trying to be some kind of house husband or something?
It is pretty funny that Chris's whole thing was wanting to be a house husband, even though he couldn't even keep like a single room in his house clean. And there's a good point though that Casey's dad's bringing up. Chris claims to do all this stuff around the house, yet it still looks like that in those house tour videos.
Well, most of that mess belongs to my mother, and I can't really organize it without her being able to help me, without her being able to point out where to put everything.
Oh, it's your mom's fault, and that's real mature.
She's I admit it. She's a bit of a pack rat, and since she retired from secretarial work, she's been a little bit more lazy. I'll admit that.
Yeah, not to defend Chris, but most of that mess around the house, other than in Chris's room, was probably Barb Chandler's, considering like her whole hoarding issue. But that's besides the point. It's Chris still doesn't know how to clean.
And your room was a mess too. What do you have to say about that? I mean, this is nothing. I mean, at this rate, you're not getting. You're a pack rat too.
I am not that bad of a pack rat. I mean, I even brought practically all that stuff into the house. And I had to bring in a couch, and I had to bring in the hutch, among other pieces of furniture, among the smaller pieces of stuff, small bunches of junk that my mom got. That's a lot of heavy lifting. And it was very hard.
Furniture? I mean, all this stuff you're talking about, this heavy burden, sounds like stuff everybody has to do at least some point, maybe every wild. This is not. I mean, this is just regular, everyday housework. This isn't real work. This is chores. This is
and you don't
kid
think,
stuff.
and you don't think carrying your soldier friend on your back was a heavy burden. That was a heavy burden.
What the fuck is it? Are you mocking me?
I am not mocking you.
Are you? You compare?
I'm just pointing out that what you did was a heavy burden on yourself.
I don't even know what to say to this.
Chris is just firing on all cylinders right now. Where the fuck did he come up with that one? And you notice immediately after it left his mouth, he started backtracking. Oh, so you don't think carrying your soldier buddy was a heavy burden? That was a heavy burden. Yeah, that was, and you can tell, because then he starts to sum up, oh, no, I was just saying that was a heavy burden. And, just fucking wow. Like, I mean, it's just, some of the shit he pulls out in this is just, like, it's just so funny, because can you imagine saying this to some, like, actual war veteran telling you this shit? Like, just, fuck, man. This is amazing. This is why I love this call so much. But as you can see, it's only gonna get worse from here for Chris, because I don't think Casey's dad's gonna like that so much, and I don't think Casey's gonna like it so much either.
Yeah, that is a heavy burn, because you were trying to save your friend's life.
Casey, I mean, come over here. You got to listen to this. Listen to this guy. This is great.
What, Daddy?
This is, what is? I mean, this guy's just
Daddy,
fucking.
you sound mad. What's wrong?
This guy's just fucking with me. He's not even respecting me at all. He's disrespectful.
What? If he's disrespecting you, what is he doing?
I don't know. He's just talking about this little kitty shit. And how he has to move chairs and do, housework. I mean, and he's comparing that, to when your grandma died.
He's what?
I mean, nothing that Casey's father is saying is untrue, but just the way that he puts it is so harsh for Chris. Like, and he's comparing all of that yard work and common chore shit to when your grandma died. Like, it's not funny, but it's just, like, this is the path the phone call went. Instead of just talking about, like, your future plans and all this, you've now compared doing chores to the girl you like's grandmom dying in 9/11. Like, dear Lord.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about these heavy burdens he's had to face, and he's saying it's a heavy burden, kind of like when you remember. Well, of course you remember when we lost Grandma. How would you forget?
Oh my God, I know. I had to volunteer just to get my mind off it.
These motherfuckers are really going the full mile with these characters.
I mean, and this guy has nothing to offer you.
I have a lot to offer her.
Really?
I have plenty to offer her.
Like
don't
what?
yell at my father like that.
What?
You need to respect him. He's a retired Marine.
I do respect your father, Casey.
Well, you need to be nice to him. What are you going to do if he doesn't like you?
I was being nice to him, but then he started to insult me. He was talking down to me like as if I was a child when I'm an adult.
See, Chris just wants to be considered an adult because he is, like, legally an adult, even though he doesn't, like do any adult practices at all, other than, like, maybe going to court sometimes. Other than that, he just sits around with toys and shit, so, it's not too hard for Casey's dad not to take you serious as an adult, but, it's classic Chris shit, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of those, like, things that goes along with the naive and being called fat. Chris hates being called a child and being treated like a child, even though he acts like a child.
I already
Chris,
like...
He's way older than you. He's your elder. To him, you are a child. I'm a child to him.
Okay, well, I guess in comparison, yeah, that is true. But I just don't like being talked. Just turns me off when I'm talked down to as such. I mean, I had to put my father talking down to me as such, and he starts more arguments than there are flies in the garbage dump.
Okay, but my father doesn't get angry easily. Like, you can't act like a child like that. He is your elder. You're trying to ask him permission.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Apologize.
So Chris is about to hit Matthew with the most sincere apology you've ever seen in your life, and then we'll find out if Casey's dad Matthew decides to accept or not. Then after that, we'll end this and we'll get out of here for today. But let's hear Chris's apology.
Yeah. Yeah. I apologize, Matthew. I apologize for talking back to you. I got carried away, especially from feeling like I was being talked down to. I mean, surely, yeah, you can understand that. I'm sure your father talked down to you, even when you were about my age. And I do not mean to insult you or your father, but I just felt like it was a fair comparison. I just felt like it was a good comparison there. But anyway, I apologize for yelling at you and raising my voice.
I don't even know how you think you can call me by my name right now.
So I guess Chris did not impress Casey's father with that apology. Just the fact that, I don't even know how you can even call me by my name right now. And I thought that was a perfect place to end on, because it's just, to Chris, he thinks just a little cookie cutter apology is good enough to make up for that past hour of bullshit. But I don't think that's going to slide with old Casey's dad. But we'll get back to this soon enough. I'm going to try to get these out faster than I usually did, because I'm sorry for making y'all waiting months for these, but they're really fun to cover because these whole calls are just a shit show. From Chris bringing up the tombstone stuff and saying it's not a heavy burden, which is just such a classic Chris move, to comparing, the death of Casey's grandmom to the death of Chris's dog. There's just so much to look at and laugh at here, and I don't know, I just love covering this. So I hope you guys are loving my coverage here of this 13-year-old content, but it's fun to cover it. So other than that, I want to give a shout out to Sky, Holly, Tyler, your mom, Krabby, Vanessa. You guys are goats, and I want to give a shout out to all y'all watching this and everyone who's stuck through it this long. Drop a comment down in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see me cover next, because we're about halfway through this, done with Jesus, my words are all choked up. Halfway done with this right now, and then we'll jump to more Chris shit. We'll jump to a lot more bullshit. Let me know what you guys would like to see me react to, see me talk about, and I'll try to get on it. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, roll one up for yourself. Kick back. It's Thursday. You got one more day after today of the work week, and then it's the weekend, and then you can chill and really get fried, get drunk, do whatever you do. But I just hope you have a really good rest of your day, good rest of your week, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new video, maybe, I don't know. But we've got the smoke show out this weekend, and maybe some more Chris content on the way, but we'll just have to see what happens. So other than that, as I've already said, I hope you all stay safe and have a good day, guys.